everybody, Mike here. Just want to make a quick video today about the Mars Express mission that's actually currently still going underway. It's orbiting Mars right now. It's being managed by the European Space Agency, or ESA. The ESA itself has actually been conducting missions back since its inception in 1975. Although it has had some setbacks, the Mars Express mission is one of the most exciting and successful missions the ESA has done so far. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the Mars Express mission itself, some major mission milestones, where it's at today, and the plan for the mission in the future. So sit back and hope you learn something. So quick background on the ESA, like I mentioned before, is founded in 1975. It was originally founded to be a cooperation between some various European nations. It was originally focused on space technology and space exploration. Doing all of this would effectively let the ESA be on par, or at least a peer to the Russian and American counterparts, which was originally the Soviet space program, now Roscosmos, and NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Right now, the ESA is headquartered in Paris, France, where it has 22 member nations. And I'm going to go ahead and read this next part off the list because I can't remember all these different mission names. But a few of the notable missions that the ESA has launched includes the Giotto mission to study Halley's Comet, the Huygens probe that landed on Saturn's moon Titan, and the Rosetta mission that orbited Comet 67P. So these are just some of the major milestones that the ESA has been able to achieve over its lifespan. And real quick, back to the Rosetta mission I mentioned before, that is a engineering marvel, for lack of a better word. Might actually end up getting its own video here in the future, just with how impressive of an engineering feat that was. Back to the mission. Mars Express was launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on June 2nd in 2003 with the purpose of studying Mars's atmosphere, geology, and mineralogy. This would actually be the first mission to Mars from the ESA. After launch, the Mars Express and the Frigate, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, booster were put into a low Earth parking orbit and then quite quickly fired into the Mars transfer orbit. And just to put a little tidbit in there, it later would perform a course correction maneuver on June 4th, which is my birthday. It would take quite a few months, but the spacecraft would arrive in orbit around Mars in December of 2003. This is when it would begin to study the planet with its myriad of different scientific instruments it had. Some of those included a high-resolution stereo camera, spectrometer, and a multitude of radars. So unfortunately, once arriving in orbit around Mars, this is when the mission itself would experience its first major setback. The Beagle 2, which is the landing portion of the spacecraft, detached from the mothership in January of 2004, so not long after it got into orbit around Mars. But after it initiated its landing sequence, all communication was lost back to Earth. Thankfully, the sadness from this mishap would be quickly overshadowed with some amazing scientific discoveries. In short succession, the spacecraft would identify methane in the atmosphere, along with discovering water ice below the southern pole. So throughout the following decade, the ESA would conduct a lot of scientific research with the spacecraft itself, and because it was performing so well, they just kept extending and extending and extending the lifespan of the mission. Originally had just been set to be there for a few years, but they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing because it's been performing so well. Now, all of that said, there have been a couple of mishaps where it's been booted into safe mode because of some memory issues, but those were fixed in some software updates, and it's been performing beautifully ever since. An even more significant discovery would be made in 2018 when a vast subsurface water lake would be found again in the South Pole. This led to finding pretty good and solid evidence of a ancient groundwater system throughout the planet, and an additional 3 water ice lakes would be discovered around the same area around the South Pole in 2020. Like I said before, this mission is still ongoing, and they currently have plans projected to keep this mission going, studying the atmosphere, geology, and all that stuff towards the end of 2025. So we'll see how that goes until then. So I said earlier, Mars Express is ESA's first mission to Mars, but it's really just one of a handful of other missions that have been performed by both Roscosmos and NASA. Some of the notable missions from NASA to Mars have been the Mars Pathfinder mission, the Spirit and Opportunity rovers, along with the most recent Curiosity and Perseverance rovers. And while all of these missions have different goals from one another, they all share one thing, and that's to expand our knowledge of the Red Planet. And looking forward, the ESA has even more exciting Mars missions planned. One of the missions I'm personally excited for is the Beagle 3 lander project, which is going to be landing on the surface of Mars to do a more extensive search for life. Right now, the Beagle 3 mission is still in early planning stages, but right now they're estimating for that mission to get there and perform sometime in the mid-2030s. So that is the Mars Express mission in a nutshell. It's been a big success for the ESA with many groundbreaking discoveries since its launch in 2003. And that's really it. I hope you all found this interesting. This is my first ever YouTube video that I'm making, so I'm sure my voice sounds just great and everything like that. But yeah, hopefully y'all got something out of this and share my excitement, and see y'all in the next one. Oh, and like I said, I'm new to this, so I forgot the like and subscribe. So if y'all want to go ahead and do that, that would be great. I made mini browned